What do I do when my 3-year-old throws his truck at the cat? I'm Dr. Laura Markham. Let's dig deep on this question I received because I think it's a great example of how punishment gets in the way of helping kids want to cooperate. Here's the rest of what this mom said. If I take the thrown object away and say, the truck has to be put away now, we can't let Kitty get hurt, my son still seems to view this as a punishment. Not to mention that patronized look he gets when he thinks I'm about to empathize with his feelings instead of addressing his need at this moment, which is to give him back the truck. So, is moving the truck out of reach a reasonable limit? Well, of course it is. But by itself, it will certainly be perceived as punishment. So it is just the beginning of your intervention and not the most important part. In fact, it might not even be necessary. If your child started throwing shoes out the window, you would move the shoes out of reach until he calmed down. But you wouldn't just move the shoes. You would address the reason he was throwing them, which means you would help him solve the problem that he was having that led to the behavior. And you wouldn't keep the shoes out of reach for some arbitrary period of time, or that would be a punishment. You would give him access to his shoes as soon as he had calmed down and could resist throwing them. Well, the truck is no different. In fact, since there's only one truck and it's already across the room, you might be able to avoid putting the truck out of reach altogether if you intervene immediately to address the underlying issue. That way you aren't even perceived as giving a punishment because that will always lead to more misbehavior. After all, when kids are punished, they feel worse and therefore they act worse. So let's assume for the moment that your cat beats a hasty retreat when she sees your son coming and she didn't actually get hurt by the UFO that flew by her, thank goodness. And your son doesn't even seem angry, just excited. He already knows that throwing toys at the cat isn't okay, but he couldn't stop himself because he was just so excited at the moment. So your goal now is to help him see that when he feels like throwing, there's an alternative. So you say, you feel like throwing. Trucks aren't for throwing. They could hurt someone. See how it scared the cat? When you want to throw, say, Mom, let's throw. And we'll find a safe place together to throw balls outside or stuffed animals into the bathtub. So you're definitely still enforcing your limit. Trucks aren't for throwing, but you aren't making him feel like a bad kid for throwing. You're reconnecting with him. That increases your influence with him. And one common reason for a child to hurl his toy is because they feel disconnected and they want the parent to notice. Also, you're meeting his need to throw. Toddlers need to throw. That's just part of their job description. And you're teaching him to direct that safely. And you're addressing the underlying feelings that drove him to throw, even if it was just this exuberant, what would it feel like if I threw my truck? But what if it's more upsetting than that? What if your son threw that truck in anger and really wanted to hurt something? He's trying to show you something about how he feels. So moving the truck out of range isn't going to help with that either. It just makes it more likely that he's going to escalate. Instead, we need to help him with whatever the emotions are that are driving him toward violence here. If he makes a habit of launching missiles at the cat on a regular basis, or if the truck actually hit the cat as she's happily basking in the sun, you certainly want him to understand his effect on the cat. Oh, ouch, poor kitty. Oh, that truck hurt. Look how scared she is. Trucks aren't for throwing. Kitty is scared right now, so let's leave her alone. But later, you want to pet her to help her trust you again. We don't want her to be scared of you. So you're not only encouraging empathy by helping him see things from the cat's perspective, you're also alerting him to the damage that he's done to his relationship with the cat and suggesting how he might repair that. So, should you punish him for throwing the truck at the cat? That's the big question. He did know it could hurt her, and he aimed right at her, and obviously we have to protect the cat. But notice this means he's obviously upset. If he's throwing something to hurt the cat, he's sending you an SOS. When kids lash out like this aggressively, something's going on inside. They're scared. If you punish him, you're missing the opportunity to help him work through those feelings, and they'll just burst out in some other misbehavior. He'll feel even worse about himself and even more disconnected from you. You might think that it'd be worth it to punish him if the punishment kept him from hurting the cat in the future. Unfortunately, punishment doesn't even do that. It has the opposite effect. Any kid being punished inevitably will start muttering some version of, "It's all Kitty's fault. I'll show her." So instead, you want to help him safely express the emotions that incited the violence. First, you connect with him. You get down on his level. You make eye contact. You create safety with your understanding. You say something like, "You must be pretty upset to throw your truck at the cat. I know you love her and usually you're gentle with her. Want to tell me about it?" He might burst into tears and tell you how upset he is about something. It won't have to do with the cat. In that case, just be glad you got to the root of it and hold him while he cries. But that's not likely. More likely, he's going to give you that patronized expression. That means he's trying to fend off the emotions that are underneath his anger, which are uncomfortable for him. He doesn't want to feel them. So let's bypass his rational mind and let's vent some of those anxious feelings that are seeking an outlet in his truck tossing. Forget the empathetic words. Go straight to play. "Come here, you truck-tossing tornado, you. I think this is a signal we have to toss you around." Get him giggling while you throw him around. Do some affectionate roughhousing, and if he wants to play more, you can help him work on those power issues by let him be the lion tamer. You be the roaring lion, and let his powerful presence transform you from scary to purring. Giggling will probably be enough to get your son back on track, having laughed out his upset and reconnected with you. But if his upset escalates, he might just need to cry. Sometimes kids just need to cry. And there is an article on the Peaceful Parent Happy Kids website, "When Your Child Acts Out But Can't Cry, How to Build Safety." And if his aggression continues, that's a signal that he needs your help to experience some of the fear or sadness that's eating at him, that's driving the anger. And there's an article on that also, helping your child work through emotions so he can manage them. Has your son learned that hurling vehicles at others is off limits? Yes, but he already knew that, right? He just couldn't stop himself. So just removing the truck wouldn't have prevented a recurrence. What you've done is helped him with the feelings that led to this crime of passion, so it's less likely to be repeated. You've even strengthened your bond with him. He didn't get what he thought he wanted, which was more opportunities to hurl that truck, but he got something better. A parent who understands even when he knows he's breaking the rules and who helps him feel and act better. And you've done it without punishing. Not bad for a morning's work. See why child development is so intellectually fascinating? And it's good practice for lion taming, too. I'm Dr. Laura Markham. Thanks for joining me.